Good morning. I feel like hot garbage. I don't know what's wrong with me. I thought it might be allergies, but I've had a headache for 3 days and I was supposed to film this last night. It's Sunday morning. I'm putting this up, filming it and putting it up in the same day. I went to bed at 8:30 last night. I don't know what's going on with me. And then this morning I couldn't talk. There was so much. I hope it's not like COVID. Oh God, I haven't had that yet. So we'll see. Let's real quick do a check-in and then I'm going to try and take a nap or maybe just watch movies or maybe read. I don't know. Hold on. Good morning from the girls. So as of this morning, I have finished 12 books out of 31. So my slowness continues. It's fine. You know what? If I don't make it, I don't make it. It's fine. Let's talk about the 7th book I finished, which I had started as of last weekend. And that's The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman. This is book 5 in the Thursday Murder Club. At this point, I am completely unable to be objective about these books. It's not even like a true reading experience for me anymore. It is straight up just visiting my friends. In terms of, I did end up giving this a 4.5, not a 5, because I thought that it didn't feel as cohesive thematically as the last couple books did. I feel like that's also sort of inevitable though, because of what happened in the last few books. For those of you who have not yet started this series, if you like mysteries and if you like books about friendship and books about older people not, what's the poem? Rage against the dying of the light. You know, they're doing that. So there's a wedding. Joyce's daughter is getting married, Joanna, and at the wedding, the best man comes up to Elizabeth, who is still in mourning and has not been quite herself for the past year. Osman cheekily opens the book by having Joyce in one of her diaries say that it's been a while since she wrote, which is, I feel like, a nod to the fact that last year we didn't get a Thursday Murder Club book. We got the first We Solve Murders book. So I think, and then according to the end of the book, the notes, he's doing We Solve Murders 2 next, and then Thursday Murder 6. So it looks like it's going to be, you know, switching off. But I'm glad that these people aren't going away because I love them. 4.5 stars. Okay, then the next book I finished was The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi. Still not sure if that's how you say it. Feel free, anyone who knows, to help me out. I feel like I'm puffy. Do I look puffy? I feel puffy. Sorry, I was just looking at myself in the camera like, what is happening? This is yet another book about oldsters. I'm telling you, if you make a book about old people, I will read it. I'm not, guaranteeing that I'll like it because, like there was that one book, the Korean assassin woman, like I didn't like that. But this was a grand success. I was worried that I wouldn't like it because it was a slasher, and generally I don't really like slashers because I don't like the feeling of people that I've become attached to just dying willy-nilly for no reason. But the genius of this book, and I don't know if I actually mean genius, but the clever thing about this book is that because it is a book about old people set in a retirement community, thematically, the underpinnings of everything is that these are already people at the end of their lives dealing with what happens at the end of your life, your relationships falling away, all of your friends dying, your family members perhaps not taking care of you or paying attention to you or ignoring you, your body breaking down and the loneliness of it, but also because they live in this community, they've all like made friends with each other. So it's like a way to push back against that. So when, of course, a serial killer starts killing off the people in this retirement community one by one, at first in ways that mimic either health crises or suicides, the main character, Rose, is one of the only people who believes that something off is happening, that these people are being murdered. And then she gathers some friends together and they start looking into it. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not a person who's in it for the kills, but the kills were kind of fun because the killer was really creative about making them look like they weren't murders, at least at first. The only reason I didn't give this 5 stars is because the ending, the reveal of who the killer is, which I predicted that's who it was, which is fine. But like their like villain monologue about why they did what they did was weird. I didn't like it. It felt very like Gen Xer or a boomer. Is he a boomer or a Gen Xer? I'm not sure. The author. He looks like a Gen Xer. Saying, all right, millennials. You know what I mean? I don't even know if I know what I mean. I really enjoyed this. So even if you don't normally like a slasher, this also reads sort of like a mystery with a high body count tonally. There was this thing with a dog and a man who had dementia that was also very heartbreaking, but also kind of happy. Anyway, 4 stars. Next is a book that I read on Hoopla, Green River Killer, a true detective story or something like that. I can't remember the subtitle. Oh, I need to reheat that. So this is by Jeff Jensen. Some of you may know him from his work on Entertainment Weekly. He was the lead television critic for about 5 years. But before that, he made his name writing really, really intense Lost recaps from like the whole run of that series from 2004 to 2009. And they were so intense, but it was like the thing that you did after watching Lost is that you read, they called him Doc Jensen because he was like so wild about these recaps and the theories and the deep dives and the research that he did. And most of it turned out to be like useless. His dad, Tom Jensen, was on the task force to catch the Green River Killer, who was one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. He killed, I want to say it was like at least 47 people. And that's just all we know about. The format of this graphic novel was so interesting. I almost gave it 5 stars. That's how good it was. I did end up going 4.5. And literally the only reason I did not give it a 5 is because my emotions and my experience of reading comics is very color-based. And there was literally 0 color. It's black and white. But like the way this is structured, it's not really about, like most true crime books are about like the investigation and they focus on who is this guy, how did they find him, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is about. So this is about Tom Jensen and his experiences and what catching this guy and trying to catch this guy and what happens afterwards did to him as a person. So it's almost a biography, but it's like told through the lens of the investigation of the Green River Killer. It's also told non-linearly. The beginning of the comic starts with him at the creation of the task force, and then it decade hops for a while until you get to the present day, and then it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Because they catch, at the beginning of the graphic novel, they catch the serial killer pretty quickly. And so then what it becomes about is different things. You know, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I really enjoyed this, and I am going to get myself a copy eventually. It was very good. Again, even if you don't like true crime normally, if you like comics, this is a good one. 4.5 stars. Next up is the Tommyknockers by Stephen King. So I was nervous about this one because everybody hates it. It's widely regarded as one of his worst books. I think that, I mean, obviously your tastes are going to vary, but I like Stephen King's writing style. And even though I recognize this is a very, very flawed book for multiple reasons, I still enjoyed myself. The Tommyknockers is about, what's his full name? I don't remember. He goes by Gardner. He's a poet. He's an alcoholic. He's in a really bad place at the beginning of this book when he gets this sudden feeling that his former student, former lover, current best friend, current only friend, because he's thrown his life into the toilet, Bobby Anderson, who is a writer of Westerns and lives in a small little Maine town called Haven. I don't know if you guys remember that TV show Haven that was on Sci-Fi in the 2000s. I think I only watched the first episode. It wasn't a very good show, but this is where it's set. She finds like when she's out walking her dog, she trips over a buried metal object in the forest and becomes obsessed with unearthing it. And then as she unearths it, something in it is affecting her and begins to affect the entire town. So he gets this like psychic message. He's about to make himself not of this world anymore. And he gets this feeling like Bobby's in trouble. I have to help her. So he goes to Haven, and what he finds is Bobby in terrible shape. Bobby is mostly not Bobby anymore. She is becoming something else, and everyone in the town. So he like has to decide what he's going to do about that. And then it also widens out to a larger perspective of what's going on outside of Haven and like how the two are interacting. The main problem with this book straight up is that it is way too long. Stephen King himself famously in a Rolling Stone interview has said this is his least favorite of his books, that it's a terrible book, and that there somewhere in there is a good 350 to 400 page novel. He's right. I think honestly some of the indulgence though is like kind of fun in the fact that it like builds character. Like there's this really long sequence before Gardner goes to Haven where he is on tour like with a university I think is paying him to do readings with other writers and poets and stuff. He is at this house and he has this like pathological thing with nuclear power where he's obsessed with it, and he's been arrested several times for protesting nuclear power plants and all this other stuff, and he probably has a government file somewhere, that kind of thing. He happens to be at this having the reception afterwards after giving like the performance of his life of one of his earlier poems. There is a guy from the power company there, and he's talking about like the benefits and how everything with nuclear power is great, and he just cannot hold himself back, Gardner, from spewing every single bit of his paranoia and knowledge and whatever at everyone at this party, including the terrified wife of the power executive who looks at her husband like, what you been keeping from me? Anyway, it goes on for pages and pages and pages, his rant. So long, and I'm not sure, like, it just reeks of someone, aka Stephen King, being on cocaine and alcohol and being fueled by these paranoid obsessions. Obviously, it's significant that the main character of this book is an alcoholic. He's an addict, but alcohol is his main drug of choice. I just feel like there's a lot of what Stephen King was going through in this. And then like right after this book was finished, his family and his wife in particular, like they had an intervention for him and they were like, here's the deal. You're going to go to rehab or you're going to leave. He chose to go to rehab and he's been clean ever since. But you can tell that he just was giving into his worst impulses as a storyteller in this one. It's very indulgent. There are lots of extended scenes that are not important to the plot. They give atmosphere, but one of those scenes would have been fine. You know, it would have been like character building. It would have been atmosphere building. But like there's at least 7 or 8 of them that are extended way beyond the normal bounds of what the story calls for. And it's like the whole book. The climax of the book starts and there's still 10 hours left of the audiobook. I did like it though. I did like it. I do not think this is his worst book. Cell is his worst book that I've read so far. I didn't. That one is just a bad book. I don't like it. It gives me bad feelings. This book, even with its problems, is kind of charming. And overall, there's some good stuff in there. Like the idea of this, essentially it's a spaceship, spoilers, changing this whole town and the way that the dynamics of this place change, and they all become psychics and they all start changing like their personalities and not becoming who they are. And there's like these random outlier people, mostly who have like metal in their bodies somewhere, who aren't affected, and like what happens to them. And I don't know, I just found it really interesting. And the ending was wild. It would have been played a lot better without all of the long buildup, I think. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars and rounding up just because I personally enjoyed myself. I listened to 27 plus hours of audio. So, I mean, well, I was on 1.25 speed, 1.3 speed at the end. So it was less than 27 hours, but it was still very long. And I was pretty much engaged the whole time. I don't think this book deserves all of the criticism. Of course, your mileage may vary. Like, I'm just interested in that kind of story, and I like his storytelling style, even when he's being self-indulgent. Probably most people aren't going to like it as much as I did, but I was surprised when I went on Goodreads afterwards. There was all the people saying they hated the book, you know, but there was also like these people who say this is their favorite Stephen King book, and I was very interested by that. Anyway, 3.5 stars. Moving on. This one, Strange Pictures by Uketsu. It's been going around for the past year or so, and I had a lot of fun with this. Okay, so Uketsu, first of all, I don't know if you can see this. That is Uketsu. He is, well, we don't even know if it's a he. Look, that's them. They're a Japanese person in Japan, YouTube star, who wears a mask. and like publishes puzzles, or I don't know. They're like a YouTube personality and nobody knows who they are. They're anonymous. They started, I guess, writing these puzzles for people to solve, basically like decoding pictures, like these pictures online. And then I guess they decided to turn it into a book. I'm not sure what the process was there, like if they solicited a publisher or a publisher solicited them or whatever, but the end result is this book. Actually, the first book they wrote was the one that was just published here. This was published here first because it was more successful, I think, but Strange Houses was actually written first. And I have that on hold at the library because I had fun with this. But what this book is it's a mystery horror. Very unsettling. And it's essentially told in like 4 or 5 sections of separate pictures that have clues and mysteries hidden in them or that are significant in some way. And then it turns out that all of them are connected. Figuring out, first of all, the mystery of the pictures and then how everything relates together and comes together in the end. I mean, I say figure out. I didn't figure out jack shit. This is the kind of book you read either because you enjoy solving the puzzles or because you enjoy having puzzles solved at you. And I am of the second category. I enjoy seeing, it's like a magic show for me. I don't know how it works, but I enjoy watching it happen. The pictures are very elaborate, and I don't want to say anything more about that, but this isn't like a character book. It's totally about the experience. So if you don't like the experience, you're not going to have a good time. The characters and the overarching story aren't as strong. They're there, but they're not the focus. I gave this 4 stars, and like I said, I've got Strange Houses on hold at the library. And then apparently there's a sequel that was released last year or the year before in Japan, Strange Buildings, and that is being translated and published next year for the English market. I'd recommend this if you're a certain type of reader. 4 stars. Last night I finished We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I wasn't sure what to expect going into this, and I really didn't know what it was about because my copy from the library is just the opening lines of the book. And then the back flap is a significant line from the book, which is, "You will be wondering about the sugar bowl, I imagine. Is it still in use? You are wondering, has it been cleaned? You may very well ask, was it thoroughly washed?" If you don't want to know anything about this book, skip ahead. Most of you have probably already read it, but the basic plot is that the Blackwoods used to be a pretty large family. They were pretty wealthy. They live on like the hill of this town, and there's a village down below that resents them. Lots of class issues. But the main thing the villagers have turned on them is because 6 years previous to when this book opens, most of the family members of the Blackwoods died in a poisoning incident. Somebody put arsenic in their sugar bowl, and then people put the sugar all over the berries. And because the older sister Constance, I guess I shouldn't call her Connie because only the shithead calls her Connie. Constance doesn't put sugar on her berries. She was arrested immediately and charged with the murders of her family. The main character, our narrator, is Mary Cat, who's Mary Catherine. She had been sent to bed without her dinner. So she was a non-entity, and she was living in an orphanage during the trial of her sister. But her sister was acquitted because there was no evidence. Then she came back home to take care of her sister, Mary Cat, and her uncle, Julian, who was poisoned but survived. But now he's infirm / dying, kind of, because the poison damaged his heart and other organs. So they have this weird but sort of almost idyllic existence in this house. Julian is constantly living in the past. Sometimes he's very aware of what's going on, and sometimes he thinks he's back in the past and that everyone's still alive. He does think the main character is dead, which I thought was interesting, and it wasn't ever really explained. I need to do a lot more outside reading to fully appreciate this. I think Constance just takes care of both of them, and Mary Cat kind of runs wild. Her main job is to go into town twice a week to get groceries and library books. And every time she's in town, she's ostracized or people are aggressive toward her, and it's very uncomfortable. And it makes you hate the townspeople immediately. Something changes, and it's foreshadowed heavily that something is going to change because Mary Cat's like, this is the day everything changed. And it's because their cousin Charles comes to town wanting their fortune. And then what happens afterwards? It was just overall a very strange book. Here, I'm going to read you the first sentence so you can get an idea of the tone here. My name is Mary Catherine Blackwood. I am 18 years old and I live with my sister Constance. I have often thought that with any luck at all, I could have been born a werewolf because the two middle fingers on both my hands are the same length, but I've had to be content with what I had. I dislike washing myself and dogs and noise. I like my sister Constance and Richard Plantagenet and Amanita phalloides, the death cap mushroom. Everyone else in my family is dead. Which is interesting because that's not true because Julian's alive. But maybe she considers him dead because he's about to die or because he was caught up in that incident, or maybe because he doesn't know she's alive. I don't know. But it was very strange. And there was, I guess, I learned looking into this that Shirley Jackson was agoraphobic and that she lived in this town. I think that a lot of this is based on her experience. She lived in a town where there was a lot of anti-Semitism and her husband was Jewish, a Jewish professor. So there was a lot of anti-intellectualism and anti-Semitism that she had to deal with. And it like ignited her agoraphobia, I guess. So she was like housebound. I had no idea. I feel like this is just a very rich book. I did end up giving it 4 stars because I don't feel quite like I got everything or that it like was perfectly written for me, but I did enjoy it. I mean, it's novella length. It's 150 pages. It took me less than a day to read it. So worth it. 4 stars. That was book 12. I've got so many more to go and it's the 19th. I don't know if I'm going to make it, y'all. I don't know. Let's talk about the books that I've started / I'm still reading from last time. First up, I'm still reading Why I Love Horror. I don't know, I'm like here. This I'm confident I can finish by the end of the month. I'm also still technically reading, although basically I haven't touched it in weeks, Jamaica Inn. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this one because other books I'm drawn to more. I mean, I will finish it by the end of the year, but I don't know if I'm going to finish it by the end of the month. Then I started The Mystery of the Yellow Room by Gaston Leroux. This was translated from the French. This is one of the first, if not the first, locked room mysteries. It heavily inspired Agatha Christie and other Golden Age crime writers. This is by I guess he wrote 40 detective novels about this guy, Joseph, what's his name? Rouletabille? Joseph Rouletabille. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. But he's like a detective in the sense that he solves murders in a book series, but he's actually a reporter and he investigates stuff. But he's like a Sherlock Holmes kind of guy. Very, very smart, sees things other people don't. I'm like here. It's kind of a slow read because it is like more old fashioned, but mostly what happened is that my headaches made it so that I was not wanting my brain to work very hard. So instead of continuing on and pushing through this one, I started a different book, which was Strange Picture. And I flew through that. But yeah, still reading this. We'll finish it soon. And then I'm still reading Rainbow Black. Have made no progress in this, but I want to be reading it. Lastly, I started this morning The Tokyo Zodiac Murders by Soji Shimada. This is a Japanese puzzle mystery. What is it? Begins with an H. Hankaku. Okay. This is a hankaku, which is a specific type of Japanese mystery where the author deliberately writes it so that every single clue you would possibly need for the reader to be able to solve the mystery along with the detective is in the book. It's a specific promise. There are tricks, but it's not one of those mysteries where the author withholds certain details in order to trick the reader. Everything is there. You just have to be able to put the pieces together. Now, unfortunately, hankakus are also ridiculously elaborate, so I'm never able to do that. This is the kind of book that has like diagrams in it. I think actually Strange Pictures is a descendant of this type of mystery with a more modern bent, but like it's got floor plans, it's got diagrams, it's got family trees, all kinds of stuff so that you have all the clues you could possibly need to solve. So the main premise of this, the opening is so weird. It opens with the last will and testament of this guy who created the idea of these Zodiac murders. And it's utter nonsense. The first 38 pages, I was like, what is happening? This is nonsense. He's just talking about the Zodiac in a way that and he clearly is mentally unwell because he keeps bouncing from thing to thing. And at one point he's saying, I'm going to commit these murders and create this goddess that I've dreamed up with all these young women's body parts. And she's going to rise from the blah, blah, blah. And then like the next paragraph, he's like, but I'm going to kill myself. So he's clearly unwell. He's murdered. And then after that, the murders that he planned are still committed, even after he died. This happened in 1936 in the timeline of the book. This book was written in 1981 or published in 1981. It takes place in the 70s, 1979, where these two men have decided to try and solve these murders. Because there was the murder of the guy whose name is Heikichi Umezawa. Then the murder of his stepdaughter, who apparently died of some sort of home break-in. And then the murders that this guy planned, the Zodiac murders of his daughters and stepdaughters, basically, to create this goddess named Azoth. They've never been solved. Nobody knows if these murders are even all connected, and if so, how. So that's where I'm at. They've got this guy is pulling his friend who's like an artist into it. And he also is like a Zodiac expert. I don't know. Is Zodiac really that like important in Japan? I feel like it's not, but whatever. I should be able to finish this today. That's where I'm at with this challenge. Hopefully I feel better. I feel the headache building again. I'm going to have to go like do a sinus rinse again and take more pills. I don't know. It's blah. Anyway, on my next video, I keep trying to shoot for Tuesday and Wednesday in the middle of the week, but I think Friday works best for me. So Friday and Sunday mornings, that's when you're going to be getting videos through all of October. It's not going to happen any sooner than that. I'm currently working on a reading vlog that I've been working on for almost 2 months that should be hopefully ready by Friday morning. And then, of course, on the weekend, I will check in about my progress for this. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. If you like the video, please don't forget to give me a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Also, if you I know times are tight for everyone right now, but I am really not afraid to ask for money at this point. My medical bills are crushing me. So if you want to give me some money and buy me your coffee, I would really appreciate it. If you like this content and you don't want to see me lose my mind, or like, I'm really glad they don't have debtor's jail anymore. Let's just say that. Fuck. If you don't have anything to say, but you want to let me know that you were here, please leave me a dog emoji for the Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre. There's a good boy in here. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, love you, bye.